Welcome to Moon Me, an astrology podcast where we explore astrology, tarot, psychology, and astrocartography. With your hosts, Roxy and Izzy, we dive into the connection between the stars and the self. Hello and welcome. I'm Roxy.
And I'm Izzy.
And this is Moon Me, an astrology podcast. Today we will be talking about the houses in an astrological chart. If you do want to look back at some of our previous episodes, we have covered topics such as the signs, the planets, the big three, and a bunch of other topics that you may be interested in. But today we'll be talking about the houses. As we know, when you look at your birth chart, it is separated into 12 different parts, each associated with a zodiac sign. Each would have or not have planets within them, and each having a very important significance. I would say that the signs are telling us a little bit about how we do things, how we are. The planets are telling us what we do, and maybe giving us more information about our personality. And then we have the houses. And I like to view this as different rooms in a giant house, each of which would be covering different parts of our lives, different experiences, and different areas. What would you say about the houses in astrology, Izzy?
Yeah, I think the houses really represent the where, right? Like which area of life are these planetary themes showing up for us? And which areas of life, I guess, are being the most activated within our birth chart at a given time. Um, that's more related to the transits, but in general, when we look at a fixed birth chart, when we think of the houses, if a house has something like a stellium in it, which would be like three or more planets in the same house, that area of life in general throughout that person's life is just going to be a major area, a major theme for them.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, to me, the houses really represent lived experiences, areas of life, and the themes and topics that are related to those lived experiences and areas of life. So yeah, that's what.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like concentration of planets in certain houses tell us more of the story, right? So that's not to say that if you don't have planets in a certain house, that you're not going to have a very full area of life in that house. But it is to say that the houses that have planets have a little bit more of a story. Either they have more focus, or more influence based on the certain planets. For example, if you have Venus in a house, you might find your experiences to be quite balanced, quite beautiful, quite enjoyable. Whereas if you have Saturn, it might influence, where you might need more discipline, where you might struggle or feel overly responsible, in terms of the parts of your life.
Yeah, I would say Saturn for sure kind of makes things seem to take time, makes things in that area of life seem slower to progress. And it might also mean that you have a lot more lessons to learn related to that area of life, like that the mastery, that sense of mastery hasn't come naturally. Whereas yeah, like Venus or sometimes even Jupiter in a house will show greater ease, will show more luck, will show more um, yeah, just kind of a bit of an easier time compared to Saturn. And then some planets could, I guess, go either way, like Mars, for example. It is a malefic, but Mars could be really good to have in a house too, because it can show where an area of life that you are very motivated about and that you're very focused on and that you work hard at. Um, so I would say like if someone has maybe Saturn in a house, but also Mars, that Mars influence might influence them to work on that area of life more, and maybe it'll diminish the difficulty brought on by Saturn. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, the combination of planets, as you just so clearly pointed out, is very important. Where you have Venus, and for example, I have a stellium in Aquarius in my second house. I have Venus, Mars, and Saturn. So I have a mix of both beneficial planets and difficult planets. And I definitely see that manifest in my life. You know, without Venus there, I think I would have quite a difficult time with second house topics and areas of life, right? But I've also noticed, you know, like Uranus, for example, it can, as you said, go both ways, right? Not necessarily good or bad, but it could manifest as, you know, the area of life where you rebel the most, where you fight more for your uniqueness, for your independence, for your freedom. Um,
where you innovate, do things differently.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
But it could also be the part of your chart where you experience the most chaos, the least stability, the more shocking, surprising, and often unpleasant things that can come up in life. Yeah.
Yes. I've definitely seen it play out with people that way with
Hmm.
Uranus,
Yeah.
both with transits and just in their natal chart.
I also think the angular houses definitely are a topic to discuss in terms of their importance.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're the core areas. They're like the core areas of life. They're what we think about the most. Ourself, our relationships, like especially one-to-one romance, our sense of home and belonging and our career. And it's like, you would know you also are we're both astrologers. When people come to you, at least in my experience, these are some of the things they really want to know about the most. These
Absolutely.
are what they want answers on, right?
Hmm.
Where they want insight.
Yeah, so just to add a bit of clarity to that, the angular houses, for those of you that aren't super familiar, are the first house, the fourth house, the seventh house, and the 10th house. We call them angular because they exist at all the angles of the chart. And as you said, Izzy, they are incredibly important. They have quite an impact not only on us, but the people we interact with, our relationships, and our growth forward in terms of career and public image. So super important. I would also say that house rulership is very important. We have to sort of be aware of the ruler of the house and where that planet is elsewhere in the chart. Would you say that's important as well?
Yeah, I'd say that's important. And also understanding the difference between house rulership and having a planet in a house, because it's very common that someone says, oh, like, but that, like, there will be an astrologer and they'll be like, okay, to interpret this, I don't know, full moon, look where Leo is in your chart. And then a lot of people who maybe lack a bit of knowledge on astrology will say, I don't have Leo in my chart. I have no planets in Leo. But it's like, no, no, we all have Leo in our chart. We all have all the signs in our chart because each sign rules a different house in our chart. So it's really important to distinguish that because I think there's a lot of confusion around that.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to your ruling planet, aka the sign that rules, or yeah, the planet that rules the sign in your first house, it's going to have so much signification or importance in your chart when you're trying to understand your personality and also where it is in the chart, really emphasizing certain areas of life. For example, we both have ruling, our ruling planet is Saturn. So we
Yeah,
have to look at where Saturn is in
Capricorn.
our chart. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so with that in mind, which houses do you think people misunderstand the most? Which house do you have difficulty understanding sometimes or accessing at certain points?
Okay, well, there's people, and then there's, I guess, my own experience.
Yeah.
So I think people, a lot of them misunderstand the 11th house. I'm gonna start with that. That's very misunderstood. Um, as well as I would say maybe the ninth house could be a bit hard to grasp for
Mm.
certain people. Kind of connecting everything together. Um, and I think a lot of people also get really confused about the sixth house. Even myself,
Hmm.
um, I think I have a good grasp on it, but like it's always been one when there's like a transit or something where I'm like, how is this gonna play out? It's like a bit of what's it called? Not a bingo, like a lottery?
Yeah.
Yeah, Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's a bit of like a gamble. It's a bit of a gamble with the sixth house transits, right? And just sixth house placements in general. I would say those three confuse people the most, and I'm most confused, I guess, or have been by the sixth. What about you? What would you say?
I would say the most confusing in general would be the eighth house. It's kind of hard to
Oh yeah,
pinpoint.
how did I forget that? Yeah.
But when it comes to understanding ourselves, unless you have a lot of planets in the 12th house, I think the 12th house is, well, essentially it is hidden from us, right? So I think the 12th house can be really difficult to access in terms of that. Um,
It's very oversimplified. I find people will just say 12th house placements, especially 12th house stelliums, like suffer from massive depression. And I'm like, that is so reductive.
mm.
That
I
is
have
such
a 12th house moon and
I
I'm
have a
not a
12th house
depressed.
Mars. Like
Yeah.
my life force is in the 12th house. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
I think when
so
you have planets like that, the 12th house becomes more visible and accessible. But if you, for example, don't have a lot of 12th house placements or none at all, it can be really difficult to access, I think. And I think the planets that we find in the 12th house are also going to be difficult to access as well. So I have my moon in my 12th house. So sometimes it takes a lot of work to get to my emotions, like how I really feel inside, because it's quite hidden from me, if that makes sense. How would you say the Mars in your 12th house has manifested for you?
um well, it's a difficult placement. Off the bat, in my opinion. I would say that like I'm a bit like internally I could react to conflict or like to feeling threatened or upset, but I could like kind of maybe hold that anger or frustration inside for a while and let it build up because it's like I feel like my anger is suppressed.
Mm,
My anger reactions are a bit suppressed and um I feel like that's bad because I feel like I've been coerced before in life into maybe certain maybe financial agreements or just setups in general that like I hadn't felt like I truly agreed to.
mm,
I also feel like with Mars in the 12th house, there is this underlying theme of like feeling out of control, like feeling very fatalistic, and feeling like we're not really in the driver's seat of our life. Um,
mm,
and that's been something really, 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 really difficult for me to
mm,
manage. And I still feel like I've made peace with it, but I haven't, it's a difficult thing to deal with.
mm,
Um, because it's like very, very, very like fatalistic. I feel like I'm very fatalistic a little bit.
mm. Yeah, it is a tough. I think anything in the 12th house deserves a little bit of therapy. I would say if you have someone in the 12th house, take it to your therapist. Um, I would imagine like Pluto in the 12th house as well is quite awful at times. But
Oh,
again,
Even Neptune, I feel.
oof, yeah, the hidden, even more hidden. Although Neptune is quite comfortable in the 12th house, so it could really make someone quite creative and imaginative. But yeah,
Very like
definitely.
connected to source, connected
Mm.
to mind.
Yeah, not super studied or anything, but I have heard 12th house planets being associated with people with more psychic abilities, more intuition or heightened intuition, more into connecting, channeling, seeing ghosts, perhaps, and things of that nature. I have heard that association before. Without further ado, though, we should start in talking about the houses, right? Today will be part one, so I think we can go through houses 1 to 6, starting with the first house, which I always associate, essentially, the word self identity comes up or self, but very often I find the rising sign or the sign in the first house to be kind of difficult to access for many people. They often don't really connect with it unless there's a lot of personal planets in the first house.
Yeah, I definitely also want to add that um planets in the first house. Not to say that it's like a rising sign. People are might come at me for this, but that they will influence your character and personality and vibe a lot. So like we both have Capricorn rising, but we also have Uranus and Neptune in the first house. I think that makes us a bit quirkier and into some strange, alternative, like unconventional things compared to someone maybe who has just only Capricorn rising and an empty first house, or maybe who has Venus in the first house, right? It adds a flavor to our life. Like it adds, yeah, it colors our life. So first house planets, I think for a while I didn't always really resonate with the Capricorn rising so much. And I was like, why am I so scattered? Why am I so disorganized? Like when Capricorn is supposed to be about structure, but then it's like, oh yeah, Uranus and Neptune, duh.
Yeah.
Like Uranus doesn't like routine. Uranus doesn't like being in a mold. Uranus likes freedom, likes unconventionality, likes doesn't like the mundane. So I think those could add a lot to our personality. I would say just as much as the rising sign. And the closer they get to the ascendant, they are conjunct or on the ascendant, the more potent it's going to be.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I would say the only time your rising sign is going to be on point necessarily is when it's empty or when the ruling planet is in the first house. So a Gemini rising with Mercury in the first house, right? Or Virgo rising with Mercury in the first house. Then you're definitely going to have those qualities of that rising sign. But otherwise, it is so incredibly impacted. I cannot tell you how many people I've thought are Scorpio risings, only to find out that they have some random sign with Pluto in the first house. That's really something
Oh
that
yeah,
I've noticed.
the Pluto is like very, very
Very
potent.
powerful. Absolutely, absolutely. And as you said, Uranus as well. It's going to be like Capricorn with a twist, right? Uranus is not going to let you be a straightforward, straight-laced Capricorn. And that's quite interesting. And I find it quite potent, particularly in the first house. Would you say that it matters more in the first house as well?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Because it's your identity, it's your projection, your vibe, your kind of aura. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's you. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's you in an essence. Like someone with Uranus in the fourth house, that would be very different, right? That would be like maybe their home life is very chaotic and unstable. But that doesn't mean that they come across that way, right? With Uranus in the first house, um, it could manifest in a lot of different ways. For me, I feel like it's been like I'm really attracted to like all types of people. Like I felt like I've never really fit in one type of group. Like, I could get along really well with artistic people, but then I could get along with very kind of normie people, but also people who like spirituality, but also people from different nationalities. Like I feel like I could fit in different groups. I
Mm.
resonate with different people, and I'm a bit weird, you
Mm.
know. I think that's how it's manifested for me.
A
But
little
if
bit
it,
of rebellion,
but
for
if it's
sure.
in if it's in a more like hidden house, then it might not be so obvious off the bat that they have that Uranus in that house. But in the first house, you really feel it. You really see it and you really feel it.
Absolutely. And I think more than just it's you and it's your aura, it's also just like your first impressions, right? So there's been times where I've given the impression of sort of Capricorn rising qualities, for example, even when I don't feel like it and when my inner world doesn't match that at
Oh my
all.
God, me too. We recently talked about this. I think you
Mhm.
know what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like people will be like, "Oh, well, she's like this," and I'm like, "What? Like, where did you get that idea?"
Yeah, it's super surprising when people, you know, maybe if you have, because I want to play around a little bit with the signs, maybe if you have like Gemini rising, you're very playful and very fun, and people will see you that way, even when inside you're feeling heavy or emotional, for example. Or if you have Libra rising, very balanced, very beautiful, very graceful.
Always like composed and
Right.
not wanting to rock the boat too much. And
I see with a lot of Virgo risings, for example, they come across as very uptight and anxious, and sometimes they're not, depending on the rest of the chart. They may seem that way at first, but when you get to know them, you realize that they're actually very relaxed or they're not anxious people, right? Which happens very often with the rising sign. There's a disconnect, I feel, to that deeper inner part of you, unless, of course, you have those personal planets in the first house.
yeah, like you said, like Gemini rising with Mercury in the first house, it's probably going to be a bit more obvious.
Yes.
And the person is going to resonate more with that. But if they have Gemini rising, but they have Mars in the first house, there could be a huge disconnect.
Right. Like, for example, you could meet a Pisces rising and go, oh my God, she's so ethereal. She's so relaxed. She's in her own world. Meanwhile, she's got a Capricorn moon and she's on her shit. It can be really hard to decipher the person's inner world to their
Yeah,
first house, their rising
what
sign.
they're projecting, whether consciously or unconsciously, is often very different from what others are seeing.
Hmm.
And especially if yeah, if the moon and the rising are the same, it's gonna be less likely that it's like that. But like if the moon and the rising are very different, it's gonna be the person probably may not resonate with their rising sign.
Yeah. I do also have heard and have read about the rising sign or the first house being sort of our life trajectory, like our path forward, what we need to learn, what we need to become, essentially, what we need to embody. So when we see it as a sort of life lesson, we might say that as you get a little bit older, later in life, you start to connect more and more with your sign, in the first house, I mean, and even the planets in the first house might become a little bit more prominent as you age, if we see the rising sign as that sort of, goal or growth in life.
Yeah, it's like the things that we have to kind of get more comfortable with. With the rising, I think that's a big part of it too. Like we may not have it mastered and have it down when we're younger, but like as we get older, life kind of pushes us in that trajectory of learning how to embody those qualities more and more.
Yeah. And, just to bring it even more to like practical level, the first house also represents like your body, your physical body, right? So the way you look, the health can sometimes be associated with first house, certain features, for example, Capricorn having more bone structure, you know, Libras being more symmetrical, Scorpios having more dark, intense
And that,
eyes.
that piercing, intense glare. What is the word?
Glare?
Glare. Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
that glare, that gaze that they
Uh-huh.
have.
Geminis having the little sparkle in their eyes.
They all do. My sister's a Gemini rising, and her eyes are always sparkling.
Yeah, I love that
Every
about
single
Gemini
one,
rising.
every single one, every single one.
Cancerian rising
Round.
people, round faces, moon faces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but usually, yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other characteristics.
Also, the
Uh,
Gemini risings, like they tend to have very expressive faces.
ooh, yes.
Uh,
And Leo rising, similar, expressive, but also big hair.
yeah, they tend to
They
have
very often, yeah, have like curly hair or just some distinctive quality about their hair. Um,
Aquarius risings, are just very unique, I think.
yeah, yeah, you can't put down an Aquarius
I
first
can't pin
house.
them down. Their appearance could vary a lot, I think, because it's Uranus, right? It's like you don't know what you're gonna get. Are they gonna be tall? Are they gonna be short?
But
Like,
Aquarius rising, first house, I would say, do have quite a unique physical feature. So, like, other than the way they dress, like some unique physical feature that's quite beautiful, but quite different, like a pronounced nose or a certain shape of their lips that just like is a little bit offbeat. Maybe a
Or a
gap
or like
between
a
the teeth.
birthmark, some kind of
Mm,
mark maybe.
mm-hmm,
Aries risings too, they say like scars on the head, like something with the head. Maybe the head is big,
mm-hmm.
maybe forehead. Um,
Yeah. And Aries rising quite sharp as well, sharp
and
feature.
like thick eyebrows and dark eyebrows, thick
Mm.
dark eyebrows. I mean, I have that, but I'm not an Aries rising.
Pisces would have the most beautiful eyes. Doesn't matter the color. They're usually quite enchanting in their eyes. A little bit softer features, I would say, as well, with the Pisces. Same with
Softer, yes.
Taurus.
Yeah. Taurus also fairly symmetrical, that Venusian influence that they've got.
Sagittarius rising. Sagittarius risings, sorry to say, they usually have great butts. Great
Yeah,
butt.
like thick hips, thighs, butt,
Yeah,
all of it, all of it.
yeah. Of course, this is a generalization, so don't come for us. I'm trying to think if we've left anybody out. We kind of just like freewheeled that one. Water signs, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer. Yeah, we got them all, I feel.
Well, at least most of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so first house is very much those physical features, our first impressions. And then if we had to move on to the second house goes a little bit deeper into, I would say, our self-worth, our resources, what we see as valuable, then of course, also including actual money, right?
And also even how ways that we could make money too, actually.
Yeah.
It's like, for example, you and I both have Aquarius second house, and we both work online. We both are kind of the entrepreneurial types. It's like we're not necessarily meant to be like in that kind of traditional setting necessarily.
Yeah, looking at the second house, you'll find a lot of information about how you make money, as you said, and what makes you kind of feel secure. Like, for some people, like maybe Taurus in the second house, it literally is money. Money is going to make me
And
feel
stability.
secure and stability.
Money and predictability and stability.
There we go.
And then
But
like
for maybe a Scorpio second house, they might want to connect more with their value system and the way they make money. There's a more deep
and be
connection there.
yeah, very like a vibe of like being very true to themselves when it comes to making money, like doing
Yeah.
something that they really, really resonate with.
That feels connected to them.
That
Yeah,
purpose.
absolutely.
Yeah, and like I think of Gemini second house, and I think like maybe this could be a person who's a really good writer who might
Mm.
work in something related to writing and communication because it's not only the 10th house that shows our the 10th house is our career, yes, but the second house also could show how we make money.
And I would add to that and say, with Gemini, Aries, or even Aquarius in the 10th or second house, you might break some rules to make the money. It's not always like being your own boss. Sometimes it literally is doing illegal shit. Breaking the rules a little bit, trying to get away with it.
Yeah, like I think what's his name? Crazy Elon Musk has I think his 10th house is ruled by Aries.
There we go.
I'm like 99% sure that I believe he's a Cancer rising and his 10th house is ruled by Aries. I've looked at his chart several times.
It definitely checks out. I'll say that.
Yeah, because it just the very like give no Fs,
Yeah.
like about anything when it
Yeah.
comes.
The rules are subjective.
Yeah, like I make the rules.
Yes, yes. So you might see a little bit of that rebellion with those signs. But it kind of applies to everyone in different ways. Like Cancerians are gonna want to also be quite connected to what they do, quite cardinal, so they would want to have started it. They would want to be running the show in some way, right? Or having innovation, freedom for innovation.
I know, yeah, people I think cancers, like they underestimate cancers. Don't underestimate a cancer, man. Like
Yeah.
they I feel like they are like quietly building their little empire, you know?
They're the intuitive Aries. Like they've got it all. They've got the same life force energy as an Aries, super cardinal.
But they know how to move more tactfully.
Yeah,
So
and
much more tact.
intuitively. Mm,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Right
absolutely.
place, the right time type of thing. I feel like I've seen this with cancers that it's weird how they have a reputation of being an unlucky sign, but
Hmm.
I don't think so. I think from what I've seen with cancers, it's like they'll be like in a situation where, you know, they're in a really like they're really in a pinch. And they just know like who to contact, how to act, what to do, and they get themselves out of it
Yeah.
every time. Every time.
And I've known some Cancerians to break the rules a little bit too. They're not the first on the list, but they're certainly open to do what they need to do. Break the law if they must. But yeah, it's quite, I like to think about the signs in terms of their level of rebellion, because it's always fun and often unpredictable with Cancerians. With Geminis, Aries, you got it. It's guaranteed. Same with
Yeah,
Aquarius as well.
quite likely.
Having certain planets there can get interesting, right? I feel like you could have a lot to say about, for example, Saturn
Oh my
in the
God, yeah.
second house, or some of those difficult planets like Mars. Mars is going to make you spend money. You got to be careful with Mars in the
You might
second
also be
house.
like obsessed with money and be very greedy with Mars there.
Could be, yeah. Or like you get money and then it just slips through your fingers. You might have this tendency to overspend without realizing,
Same
impulsive
with
spending.
Pluto, because Pluto could represent huge gains and huge losses.
Mm,
Very
absolutely.
sudden. Whereas Uranus could bring that instability to an extent. Pluto could really like rock your world, like completely like take like I think of like losing a home, like losing like your bank account gets frozen or crazy stuff like that.
Oof. We're currently going through Pluto transit in our second house. Calm down, calm down. No, I'm kidding. Astrology is never something to fear, right? It's always a little informational boost. Yeah, absolutely. With those signs, you're going to have those effects. Venus in the second house, love that for you. Without any, negative planets with it, it
Yeah,
could
it's
be
like kind
really
of
nice.
making money effortlessly,
Jupiter as well.
knowing how to like manage your finances naturally brings ease in that area of life. It just does. Anywhere where Venus is like for example, me, like I've got Venus in the 11th house. I've never had a problem making friends. Like I've never had a problem meeting people. Like
Hmm.
anywhere I've gone, pretty much. And I'm like, what? Well, and then some people say like, no, oh my God, it's so hard for me to meet people. It's so hard for me to make friends. Not for me. I have Venus there. Like,
Effortless.
it
I mean,
wish I
one
had
thing
it in house.
I have it in the second house,
You're lucky. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I have it with Mars and Saturn.
Yeah.
So it's not Venus, Venus. It's definitely, diluted,
It's
to
there,
say
but
the
it's
least.
not. It's like there, but it's not fully there.
One thing I'll say, having Venus and Mars and Saturn all together, is that I've had to learn many lessons and therefore have developed a huge amount of self-worth, which, I didn't always have. It's something that I've developed, but I have incredibly high self-worth. I really like value myself, maybe even more than I should, but it's the lessons that I've been taught, and I think it has to do with those conjunctions happening in my second house. And with regards to money, money is not something I ever worry about, but that doesn't mean I have a whole bunch of it. It just doesn't bring me stress. It's like of course, there's been moments, particularly in my Saturn return, but outside of that, having Venus there just kind of neutralizes any of those anxieties, where money just tends to come, even if it's just enough that I need. I know it will always be there. And that's the feeling.
Yeah, must be nice.
It is. It's lovely. I do like that placement. But yeah, I feel like the second house also kind of has to do with our inner values, right? If you think about
What we
valuing
what we
yourself.
prioritize, what's important to us.
Mm, mm-hmm.
But also like yeah, valuing ourselves, but what we think is important and what matters the most to us.
Yeah, and I find people with personal planets in the second house have very strong values, very strong views, right? And they'll kind of fight for that if necessary, like Mercury, Mars as well.
Even Saturn, I would say, it's like that strictness.
Yeah, like
That
more
strictness.
ethical.
Yeah, that strictness, that like kind of like that sense of right and wrong is kind of strong, I think, when we've got Saturn in there, for example, or Mercury. Yeah.
Absolutely. I have Saturn, as I mentioned, Saturn and Mars there. And for me, it's almost like unbelievable when someone doesn't have the same values as me, particularly when it's about like people's rights and things. It's actually like shocking to me. I think like, how
People's
could you
lives.
not?
I'm the same way. Like, if it's about people's lives, like in people's rights and their literal lives,
Hmm.
like people dying out here unjustly, how are you just
And we're
silent?
debating whether you think that they should suffer or not. Like what? And
Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah.
and there's a lot of people like that that will defend, I call bootlickers, like that you've got a lot of people like that in this world, and it would be interesting to talk about the astrology of bootlickers one day.
I love that. Yeah,
They
let's do
must
it.
have they must have
Put
some.
it on the list. But what I wanted to say as well with regards to that is, it's gone. Nope, it's gone. But yeah, essentially what you're saying, like there's a lot. Ooh, what I wanted to say, my least favorite kind of person, I think, is the person who tells me, I don't like politics. I don't think about it. I don't talk about it. I don't care about politics. I don't want to talk about it. This is one of my least favorite people. Because I'm just like,
Yeah, because
well, what are we going to talk about?
unfortunately, everything is political if you really think
Yeah.
about it.
Art is political, music is political,
But even
everything.
just everything, like the air we breathe, political, the food we eat, it's political. All everything. I'm sorry. I mean, am I gonna interject it into every conversation? Maybe not, because I could only
Maybe
talk
yes.
about it. No, but you know what I mean.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But like, it's like these people that say like, I don't care about politics, or like, I actually recently, this reminds me, with my fiance, we were watching a documentary about I'm Italian, and so he speaks Italian. He's learned a lot of Italian, and he watches documentaries in Italian. And he was showing me one about um uh rappers, Italian rappers who were banned from performing in the Lombardy region, where Milan is, and Bergamo and some cities in the north. And um one of the rappers said something that really speaks to this point. He said, um, some of my fans or some people who don't like me, um, say, why do I have to rap all the time about social justice and politics and this nonsense? And he said, well, because the politicians in this country are talking smack about me, and they feel that they need to talk about me. So why can't I talk about their policies? If it's okay for them to criticize me, but I can't criticize them.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, hit it on a freaking nail. That's exactly the point.
Yeah.
Music is political, and the politicians politicized it,
Mm,
you know?
exactly. They, you know, and to add to that, like politicians exploiting us, lying to us. Anyways, we're going a bit off
We're
a
veering,
tangent
we're
here,
veering, we're veering.
but I do want to say that yeah, when you have those planets in your second house, you are going to be a little bit more value focused, maybe a little bit more vocal about those, or just have more focus in the development of your values. And then for me, it's really hard sometimes to connect with people that have different values to me, which it's not necessarily a good or bad thing, but it is something that is difficult for me. So I think having that Mars and that Saturn can really influence those.
But yeah, I feel like especially, yeah, the Mars could be that point of disagreement, like where it's like, they're kind of feeling opposed to the people who disagree. don't share the same values. Because I find with Saturn, um, I will hear the person out, but I'm still gonna speak my mind. But I might not feel so charged against them. But yeah, I actually kind of do feel charged, but I may not show it though. I may not show
Yeah, with the Mars in the 12th house, you might play the long game there. Um, yeah, speaking of values and thinking styles would then bring us to the third house, right? Which, I mean, I associate with the way we communicate, the way we think. It's the way our short-term travel in our daily lives. It can also include our siblings. Yeah.
the way we well, yeah, the way we learn as well.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
when we look at like a child's birth chart, could reveal a lot about the way they study, the way they learn.
Mm.
That's why I always say it's good for parents to like look at their kid's birth chart and to
Hmm. Yeah, and I think here it's quite interesting for me to talk about the planets in the third house because I have my Mercury in Pisces, which is not a happy place for Pisces to be. Typically, Mercury in Pisces and Mercury in Pisces is not a very favorable placement. However, my Mercury is in Pisces conjunct my Sun in my third house.
and it's in the third house, so it feels comfortable there.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So I might have a little bit of a strange way of processing, talking, speaking, writing, but essentially I have access to it and the energy feels quite comfortable there for me. And that's just the perfect example of how a planet can completely influence a house and vice versa, the house really affecting the way that energy is in the planet. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, like the ruling sign, the sign that's ruling over your third house will really have a big influence on the way that you think. Um,
Hmm.
I would say ju almost like just as much as the Mercury sign, you know. Like if you've got, like we've got third house in Pisces, um, we might see things in a more abstract way, in a more idealistic way. We
Mm.
we might not always be the most realistic people when it comes to the way that we think. But we've also got like a very spiritual mind, a very creative mind.
Hmm.
Um, someone with the Gemini third house, could be a very quick learner, a very quick
Hmm.
learner, someone who's really interested in facts, in tidbits of knowledge, someone who maybe listens to like podcasts on their way to work. You know,
Mm. Same with Virgo, the
Virgo,
writers.
very
Mm.
similar. Um, I think of like maybe Sagittarius, they could be very philosophically minded, right?
Mm.
Very philosophically minded.
Mm.
Um, and so that ruling planet over your third house is going to reveal a lot about the way that a person thinks, the way they learn, the way they interpret things, and the way they communicate.
Mm. And you could even put another layer on that in terms of, so if we had Pisces in the third house ruled by Neptune, and our Neptune is in our first house, that can actually make our communication more direct because it's in our first house, right?
Yeah,
Our thoughts are very much connected to the way we come across, our first impression. So can be quite honest, upfront, straightforward people as well, which you don't always associate with Pisces, third house. But if you
When you
have that
don't, but
action
then
going on,
when you think about it, I think both of us are like very straightforward people.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't, I don't like, I just don't see the point of holding back my communication. I
It's
might
actually a
withhold,
point of suffering to hold back.
I might withhold anger, or how angry I really am, like the extent of that because of my Mars in the 12th, but I will bring up how I feel.
Yeah,
I will bring it up.
yeah.
It's not gonna be hidden.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to that dynamic where the ruler of our third house is in our first house. And that can apply for anything. Like if you have Mercury in your third house and no, you have Gemini in the third house or Virgo ruled by Mercury. Mercury's in your first house. Again, you might come across as quite straightforward. Feelings on what wearing your heart on your sleeve kind of vibe where people know where they stand with you and how they feel. Yeah.
Yeah, that concept, that mutual reception, like that concept you're talking about is like really important when looking at the house rulership. what planet is ruling over that house, where is it in the chart, it is definitely important.
I guess it also talks about, how much we communicate and how we communicate, right? Which we've spoken about already. But for example, Taurus third house is going to be quite a slow communicator, probably a great storyteller, sets up the foundation.
But also potentially really stubborn.
Right.
Like
Yeah, there's that
very
fixed nature.
thick-headed, thick-headed. That yeah, I feel like Taurus for me is like the maybe the most stubborn sign that there is because it's fixed Earth. It's fixed Earth.
Mm,
Earth doesn't move,
yeah.
right? It's grounded, it's there, it's planted. It's not fixed water, it's not fixed air, it's not fixed fire, it's fixed Earth. So it is
Mm,
there is that point of that stubbornness, especially with the Taurus Mercury, Taurus third house.
yes. But there is that longevity to their communication styles. I don't know if you've noticed. Taurus Mercuries as well. They just know how to drag a story to its thinnest, finest level.
Yeah, I've also noticed like when you're making kind of like making plans with the Taurus Mercury person, it could be like pulling teeth.
A whole
It's like,
story.
well, no, it's just more like, oh, well, let me see and this day, and I don't know, and let me tell you this like on this day, and it's not like I think like I don't know, I think like my Scorpio Mercury is more like, okay. Are you free when? This Thursday? What time? Great, bye. Or like an Aries Mercury. I think of my father. He has an Aries Mercury and an Aries stellium. He like if you don't give him a direct response right away, he will like just
What
can't.
is his third house? I'm trying to see if that would
He's
exasperate it.
Aries rising, Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, that would exasperate it for
He
sure.
needs that like quick Aries. Yeah, he's got Aries Mercury and then Gemini ruling over the third.
Yeah.
And then
It's
obviously
giving ADHD.
he does, yeah.
Yeah.
And also being that he's got Aries Mercury and Aries rising, his Mercury is also in the first house. So he's very direct about his thoughts and feelings to people, like and
Yeah.
very quick to express it. He can't keep his mouth shut. Like
Yeah, Aries Mercury is quite intense for me because I have Pisces Mercury. I always find I clash just because they just feel like too intense for me, but I'm just probably also too soft and gentle for them in terms
I
of
mean, I think like
communication.
I think the worst match would be the Taurus Mercury and Aries Mercury.
Yeah.
Because it's like they'd be like, okay, spit it out. What's the plan? Get to the point. Like I've
Yeah.
so many Taurus Mercuries, and it's like making plans with them is like pulling teeth. I'm telling you, you'll go out
Yeah.
of your mind. You'll go out of your mind sometimes with some of them. I'm
Interesting.
sorry, but it is what it is.
Yeah. What a sort of like modern day question that I had on my mind though was like the signs, like who would prefer calling, who would prefer texting, who would prefer voice notes, who's gonna leave you unread, and who's gonna be on do not disturb mode. That's something I think about in
I've
modern world.
noticed, I've noticed that Virgo Mercuries tend to prefer talking on the phone. Like I've noticed that they don't like texting.
Pisces will not pick up the phone. Do not call them.
Aries Mercury, my dad prefers to talk on the phone. Um, my mom also doesn't like texting, but oh my God, why can't I? I think she might be, I don't know what her Mercury is, but she doesn't, she prefers to talk on the phone. My sister never answers the phone, and she's got, again, can't remember her Mercury either. Oh my
Her
God, and I,
third house?
oh no, she's got Mercury in Gemini, I think. I think. Oh no, no, Pisces. She's got Mercury in Pisces, and she never answers the phone. She
No,
never
don't call. I mean, specifically with Pisces in the third house, don't call Pisces in the third house. Send them a voice note, I feel could be good. Like a long voice note. They'll indulge in that.
Yeah, I get anxious sometimes when people call me out of nowhere.
Mm,
Um, I get really, I get like, especially if like I'm like at a restaurant or
mm,
just like with people. Like nothing drives me crazier. and I'm a Scorpio Mercury. I don't know about you if you feel this way.
Hmm.
Nothing crazier than like you see a group of people like at a restaurant or even a couple. It's even worse when it's a couple. And lo and behold, one of their phones starts ringing and they pick it up and they start freaking FaceTiming on their date or it's like, what are you doing?
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh my God, no. I feel
But
like I've seen that a lot in the US. Like, is it can't you enjoy the company of the people you're with? Like,
yeah, no,
like
Scorpio third house or Mercury in your case would really desire that. That would be like the epitome of rude.
I had
But
a friend here in Madrid years ago who would do that all the time, and I we had a friendship breakup. I told her like, I don't like that you do this. I've told you about it multiple times. I don't like that you do this. I think she had Leo Mercury, so she definitely liked like the attention of receiving
mm,
the and we ended the friendship. Like I ended it over that. As extreme as that sounds, it just was like if
mm,
someone tells me that they don't like that I do something and
mm,
they and I keep doing it, I would expect them to break up with me as a friend.
mm. Yeah, I mean, on the whole FaceTiming thing, I feel like Leo, Libra, and Taurus, they like to FaceTime. They're big
Yeah.
FaceTimers. They'll
I
be
like
calling
it.
you, but it's a video.
I like it with like certain friends. Like if we've got that comfort level, maybe. But in general, I'm like, ugh, my chin looks bad.
Mhm.
Like, don't make me do this, please.
I never used to like calling, but I don't know. I seem to, maybe it's because I have Mercury and my sun in my third house. I'm happy to FaceTime all the time. Like, call me, voice note me, text me, whatever. One thing that I feel like Geminis do, but they hate receiving, is multiple text messages. Like, send them one text message. Don't send like,
I
oh, da,
I
da, da.
I do that. I do that. I
Yeah,
do
be
that.
careful with the Gemini third houses. I feel like they do that as well, but they don't like receiving it.
Really? I never
Like,
thought of that.
too scattered.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Uh, anyways, yeah, that's a little bit of a modern dilemma. It's fun to speculate because we don't really talk about that a lot in astrology. But yeah, after the third house follows dun 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 an angular house.
Or
Yes. You love the fourth house, don't you?
hmm, I mean, as an astrocartographer, yes, because it's
Hmm.
like it's a very important part of astrocartography and understanding it. If any of you don't know what astrocartography is, it's basically locational astrology, the astrology of location, the astrology of how your birth chart maps against a map of the world. And it's
I
the
also just want to jump in there. If you are looking for a reading, Isabel offers incredible readings. I've had two, both have been incredibly helpful. If you're thinking about moving or if you just want to understand your relocation, it's really helpful. So I just want to jump in.
Thank you for that. But yeah, it's really helpful if you are, if you're a frequent traveler, if you're like a digital nomad, or if you're like maybe someone who volunteers in different places around the world, like, um, if you move frequently, or even just if you just want to know like what's out there in the world for me in other countries, other locations, it's like I think it's great for anyone, honestly,
Yeah.
to understand your own location. And so I guess what like the relation to the fourth house is that the fourth house is, it represents our home, our inner world, our emotional world, but as well as our family, our childhood, our upbringing, but also in astrocartography, it represents at least the fourth house as well as the sign on the IC angle, which usually falls in the fourth house, will show the associations that a person makes with a location, with the location that they're in. Um, and so, for example, in my birth chart in New York, where I'm from, where I was born, I had my fourth house ruled by Aries, and I felt hostility there all my life. I never felt safe. I always felt in danger. I felt hostility socially from people at times. Just a lot of hostility, a lot of set not like I experienced violence, but like there was violence kind of around me, like in New York City, like it never felt very safe.
There's a
Um,
lot of different kinds of violence. It's not always like physically violent to you, but yeah, like you said, like the presence of violence, violence thoughts,
energetic
violence.
violence. Yeah, and so basically just there versus in Madrid where my IC is in Cancer, I feel a lot more at home. I feel a lot more settled. I feel safe. I feel very safe. I've never really felt in any type of danger here. And I feel a sense of belonging. That is an important component of it, but that's not the only thing. Like, I don't know if you want to add a little bit more about the family component. Like it really could speak to the type of home environment that you grew up in, the type of parents you or parent or parents that you have had.
Or
Um,
early childhood caregivers like teachers, nursery school teachers, things like that as well,
nanny
yeah.
is,
Nanny.
yeah. Um, and I think it could also reveal um what gives you emotional security and
Mm,
stability. So for
yeah.
me, Aries fourth house, I feel like when I'm not taking action, I get really bad anxiety. I feel like I need to be doing shit all the time. Um,
Mm,
Whereas someone with maybe Taurus fourth house is gonna thrive off of emotionally need stability and predictability.
mm,
So this may be a person who doesn't do well relocating often.
hmm. Yeah, I think, you know, the sign in the fourth house can represent a lot about what feels like home for you, whether that's positive or negative, what you look for, what you need to feel at home. The planets could be, whether you experience those things as positive or negative. Like Venus is going to make that a positive experience. Jupiter might mean there's an abundance of something. And then, if you have Saturn there, for example, or Chiron, sorry for you, that's a tough one. A lot of trauma associated with early childhood caregivers, or the identity that comes with what is my home? Where is my home? Who's in my home?
Could
I
even
think
be
it's
like,
really
yeah,
important.
I've heard of some Chiron. I've had worked with some people with Chiron in the fourth house, like evictions,
Oh,
homelessness,
yeah. And
growing
shattered sense of belonging.
and like just being really at odds potentially with their family,
Mm,
a type of maybe a scandal, an abuse
mm,
scandal,
mm.
within the family. Yeah, Chiron in the fourth house. Again, we've been going through the transit, which has for me has not been easy. But having it in your natal chart must be another animal.
Oh, yeah. Early childhood being quite tough, I would say. Um, but the energy can also represent like your kind of upbringing. So, for example, we have Aries in our fourth house. There might have been a lot of fiery energy in terms of, in my case, to be independent, to be bold, to like take care of myself in some instances, or like in your case, taking care of yourself in a larger, unsafe feeling neighborhood to you, protecting yourself from that. But if you had, for example, Libra, you may have had issues of balance, where you have maybe parents that are imbalanced or a home life that's constantly changing.
I also think like the fourth house like sign, like for example in my case, and I've seen this with other people, like often is the sign of one of the parents. Like in my
Mm,
Aries, my mom is an Aries, and my dad is a Pisces with a huge Aries stellium.
hmm
And my sister is also an Aries. So it's like that environment I grew up in had a lot of Aries energy, minus me.
hmm
All I have is Lilith in Aries. I have nothing else in Aries. But yeah. Didn't you say your mom is an Aries or an Aquarius?
no, my mom is Mercury and Venus, Aries. So very Aries energy, and she's a Sag rising, so very fiery at home. But a lot of my like childhood friends were Aries. I wouldn't say I connect that well with Aries anymore, but in my childhood and even now, I've relocated. My housemate is an Aries. It's it's so crazy how that happens, but it works. It's what feels like home.
Yeah, it's interesting. In Madrid, my IC, like in my fourth house, are in Cancer, and I've connected with so many Cancer people. Or just people with strong Cancer placements.
or Cancer like energy. Even if it's not necessarily a placement, there'll be that like caring energy to them. I have a Cancer South Node, so that explains our friendship. Kidding. But as you mentioned earlier, Izzy, which I think is a really important point, is ancestry, going further than our childhood homes, going way back. What would you say about that? Like, what does that mean for you in terms of ancestry in the fourth house?
I mean, I've found with at least with astrocartography and ancestry in the fourth house is that I've found that a lot of people I've worked with, not all of them, their fourth house, if their fourth house is in Cancer, like the way I have mine in Cancer in Spain, um, in a location, oftentimes they actually have ancestry in that location.
Mm.
Like
Hmm.
I had a client um who is from the UK and she was like really drawn to I think it was Barbados. Yeah, Barbados. She was really drawn to Barbados, but and she was quite sure that she had some ancestry there from there. Like, and I looked at her relocated chart and it was her fourth house was in Cancer in that location. And it's happened
Wow.
with other clients of mine too. I had another one, I think she was had some Russian or Russian Jewish ancestry, and then we looked into that area of the world, and sure enough, her fourth house was in Cancer. It's not always the case, but I found it to kind of be a pattern a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, but
Interesting.
I also think like yeah, like it could show like maybe the type of family history that your family had. I know like in my in my own lineage, there was a lot of violence in terms of certain things with some of my ancestors. My like my grandfather, I never met him. Died a very violent death. Um, and there has just been certain people who have experienced more like not close family, but who have experienced like domestic violence.
Hmm.
And just in the history of Sicily is quite violent. And so I I don't know. I feel like it just tracks, you know?
Hmm.
So
It's
yeah.
fascinating.
What do you think?
Oh, I have no idea. This is your expertise. I wouldn't, in terms of ancestry, not talking about astrocartography or
No, no,
location.
I mean like general
Yeah.
ancestry.
In terms of ancestry, I would say more than anything, I would say the planets could indicate increased interest in ancestry. You know,
Like Mars in the fourth or something like that.
yeah, there's like this intense desire to know your roots. Of course,
To connect with them to yeah.
yeah, and that becoming a very important part of your spiritual practice or your identity in some cases. But yeah, it is quite fascinating to think about the fourth house also in terms of our private life, right? So signs could, 10th house being your public persona and how people view you, your fourth house being your at home behind closed doors, and how sometimes on that axis we can see quite a contrast between the two. And I think certain planets and certain signs prefer more privacy and others are more open. For example, Scorpio fourth house would be like nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going on behind the door.
That would be which rising? Sorry, I'm curious. Scorpio, Libra,
Scorpio fourth house would be
Leo rising.
Leo or Cancer? Cancer.
Leo,
Leo.
Leo.
Yes.
Yeah. I have
Leo
found
rising.
that with some Leo risings,
Yeah, I think Leo
Oh,
risings get a
that
rep of being superficial, but it's only because they keep so much
reminds me of Brittany.
mysterious.
You remember the actress who passed away like a while ago, Brittany Murphy? You
Mm-hmm.
remember? I loved
Yeah.
her. She shares my birthday, first of all.
Birthday
But
twin.
She was a Leo rising. And it's actually really interesting that you say this whole thing about the privacy with the Scorpio fourth house because she had this very morbidly close relationship with her mother. And there's even some speculation, again, speculation, that her mother could have been involved in her death. Um, but
There's a lot of mystery around her
there's a lot
death.
of maybe she wasn't so private about it, but there's so much mystery around her death and around her family. Her dad was very like kind of absent. He was apparently in the in one of the Italian mafias in New Jersey.
Did not know that.
No, yeah, 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 yeah. Look this up. Like
Cool.
and there's a lot of mystery around her family, around her family history, around like what's the deal with her mom? Was her mom involved? Like the dad was kind of out of the picture somewhat, but then he wasn't, but then he was. It's like a lot of mystery, a lot of questions. And it really tracks with this like Scorpio fourth house. Like, and now that I think about it, yes, she is the Leo rising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think Scorpio in the fourth house would be quite private with their home life, whereas an Aries, well, I don't know, because Aries has Scorpio 10th house, so that axis can also affect, I think, a very like kind of chaotic or crazy home life versus this very composed, mysterious outward projection. So Aries is not a good example with that Scorpio 10th house. Would you agree with that?
But we have Libra 10th house.
Oh, sorry. What did I say?
Scorpio.
Scorpio. I meant Libra because Libra is very composed, very graceful, in some ways very mysterious as well. Also seen as superficial, but just because there's a
Libra, that's the
curated.
thing, like I saw this quote or some post that said Libras are art school Scorpios. And
Yeah,
I was
totally.
they're so like they're not as nicey nice and open and like I don't know
No.
like they as people think like they have some things in common with Scorpio for absolute sure.
Oh yeah. They're just like the more colorful version. Super mysterious. They don't they there's a game being played in some extent. I'm not saying that in a negative way either, because sometimes the game is needed. But there's a very curated aspect, similar to Taurus, similar to Scorpio, with, Scorpio Taurus axis as well.
The
Yeah.
control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very much present. So we do have to look at the axis, sorry, when we're looking at the fourth house, because how much we show of our inner life or behind closed doors is going to be dependent on that 10th house energy as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like our public persona and all of that.
Hmm. But on a lighter note, if we had to move into the fifth house, thinking about themes like creation, creativity are the things we enjoy, the things we
Sure.
find. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Pleasure.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
The
Um,
like the house of they call it, I think, the house of good spirits, right? Yeah, the house.
mm. We also find children there, whether it's children around us or our own children. We associate that with the fifth house as well. Yeah.
It's all, yeah, to me, it's all things to do with creation and creativity, because it also represents our vices, and the vices are habits, and habits are created.
Mm, absolutely.
Um,
And generally, our vices become our vices because we initially enjoy them. They help in some ways. They bring us some sort of ease of suffering, which, of course, in extremes can be negative. One thing I've noticed about the fifth house is Moon in the fifth house, incredible artists, you know.
yeah, so many like musicians have this placement. When I look at their charts, I think Bad Bunny might have this.
Moon, Mercury, Venus, we're looking at you're creating something. You're an artist of some sort, or expressing in some ways,
Or
whatever
like a,
that.
or like a stellium here, depending on the planets too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. However, something like Saturn could repress some of that. That might mean you might struggle to have fun. Joy might be difficult to access.
Yeah, like you might struggle to kind of lighten up and just enjoy life.
Hmm.
they feel they're a burden on themselves almost, and that
It's like fun. What's fun?
they
I
have
don't.
to work for everything they have, and they're not owed anything. They don't feel like maybe they have a right to joy and to
Pleasure.
self-expression and
Hmm.
um
Fifth house also linked to topics around sex. Mars in the fifth house could be a very sexual person, for example, or, even like Aquarius or Uranus in the fifth
Jupiter.
house.
Jupiter.
Explorative. Yeah,
Hey, Jupiter
explorative and horny.
is about like Jupiter is like about pushing limits, right?
Mm.
So it's like if you're pushing limits in that area of life, oh boy.
It can be, yeah, it can be associated with sexuality just because we associate sex with pleasure as well. Um, But yeah, it also, I guess, is associated with like romance, so like romantic dates, and also your inner child. So, like having access to those playful parts of yourself, depending on the planets and the sign, can also have a big impact. Yeah.
Definitely,
Hmm.
definitely.
Thinking about sex and pleasure, I would also, and hear me out on this one, associate the sixth house with sex.
Interesting. Why do you say that?
So, yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind is daily life, right? So, for example, someone with Scorpio in the sixth house, that would be Gemini rising, no?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, that could be a very sexual person. They need that sexuality active every day. Or if you have Mars, or sometimes even Venus in the sixth house, it could be chasing pleasures, whether that's sexual or hobbies or joy, things that we enjoy in our everyday life. So I think the planets here can really influence how we spend our days when we see it in the sixth
Yeah,
house. Same with the sign.
yeah, I agree. I know we both have Gemini sixth house, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I feel like I have a million things to do every day, and it's always different types of things. It's never just, and so many of us have multiple jobs, multiple streams of income,
Hats.
multiple things, because we're good at multiple things.
Hmm.
And I feel like in both of our cases, like, we didn't really look for it. It kind of found us.
No, did not look for it. But I will say that I'm not the kind of person that loves routine. I flourish in routine, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm the same. It helps me. I mean, I remember during the COVID lockdown here in Spain, I forced myself into a routine because otherwise I would have gone insane. I would have
Mm,
slept all day.
mm,
Because I was so freaked out by the state of the world. But and being in routine really helped me.
mm.
But now that we're out of that mess, at least the lockdown portion of it, um, I struggle to establish a routine because I just want to do what I freaking feel like doing.
In the moment.
I also feel like that has to do with our Sagittarius placements though.
Mm,
Like the
hmm.
Sag moon in your case, and in my case, the Sag Mars. It's like we're not motivated by routine.
Yeah.
Routine doesn't motivate us. We're motivated by freedom and like kind of walking our own path and
Hmm.
doing
Hmm.
things how we feel like at the given moment.
Absolutely. But I think the sixth house can also point to a few things. So, number one, to me, the sign points to what things we could include in our daily life to feel good. And I'll give an example, like Gemini, sixth house, get a journal, write every day, for example. Another thing that I think it really shows is what we can do for our health. Right. So, for example, a Gemini in the sixth house, I'm using Gemini just because it's ours. We can talk about a few more examples. Would be changing your diet, not eating the same thing all the
I
time.
know I cook different things all the time.
Yeah,
I
important for our
cannot
vitality and
eat.
health.
I lived with a couple here in Spain years ago that they did the same food shopping. They always bought the exact same things and they always made the exact same things every day on the same day. And I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like
Not
this.
only is that not great for a Gemini sixth house, it's also not good for our bodies and our health. I've noticed that the sign really is associated to the specific things we can do to get healthier. And the third thing I will say is the sign and the planets in the sixth house tell us how we can be of best service to others. So again, using Gemini as an example, it's by studying and it's by speaking, right? So communicating, speaking, studying, knowing our shit is going to help us be of service to others. And if you think about like different signs, like let's look at Scorpio sixth house, daily life. There is a component of sexuality or a component of depth that's needed in your daily life. Then if you think about physical health, you're going to want to fix your emotional well-being if you're a water sign in the sixth house, right? And then for service and productivity, how are you going to serve others? You're going to serve them through their transformations to becoming better versions of themselves. And I think you could find examples like that for all the signs, really. Like Sagittarius, sixth house, for example.
Yeah,
Um,
they need to learn a lot in their daily life. They need a lot of freedom. They need a lot of flexibility.
mhm.
Be a person who travels often for work. This
Yeah.
might be like a nomad type, you
hmm
know.
And that's sort of going into like the next topic, right? Which is your work. The sixth house is going to rule the place of work, the colleagues, the people who work for you, and the signs and planets can really influence that, right?
Yeah.
Particularly if you're having a transit as well. And I want to bring this up because we've recently had Jupiter in our sixth house.
In Gemini, yeah, it was tough. It was a tough one. I felt very unfocused. I felt very scattered
I
because
just
Jupiter
felt busy. My
busy.
schedule went up. My colleagues grew. Like it was just a very busy time for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think having Jupiter there because Jupiter is not the most comfortable in the sign of Gemini. So I definitely felt spread out too thin.
Trying to do too much for
I
sure.
was like, it was like, and it was weird. I felt like I was getting opportunities. They weren't really the opportunities for me.
Mm,
You get what I mean? Because it's that duality. It's
mm.
like it's an opportunity, but is it really gonna benefit you?
Or just like wear you thin and burn you out. Um, yeah, and that's actually a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because when you're going through sixth house transits, or if you have a lot of planets, you really need to be aware of your limits and your boundaries and your vitality as to not get burnt out and, God forbid, get sick because of it. Really important to look at the sixth house for those important clues.
It
Another thing
reveals a
which, yeah,
lot about your health. So much. It, and that's why I never like following like a prescriptive health routine because everyone needs something different.
yeah.
Maybe
And
for
look at
that
your
couple
sixth
I lived,
house,
maybe for that couple I lived with, maybe they had like a Taurus. One of them had maybe like a Taurus sixth
or
house.
Capricorn.
Yeah, and they like it's good that they had that predictability in their diet, but like for people like us, we don't need that. That's not going to benefit our health. Like
Hmm.
have you even found, I don't know if you found like you've traveled a lot.
A
Like
lot. Hmm.
I've traveled pretty well too, but you've traveled I think more. Um
I'm not sure.
and I don't know if you've ever lived in a country or been to a country where like food options were very limited. Like where like for example, when I go to Sicily, the only food there really in my town is just Sicilian, Italian, whatever, like that
Hmm.
kind of food. And every day I'm eating the same thing. And it's
Mm.
delicious, but my body doesn't like it. I could tell.
Mm.
Eating like that. I don't know if you've been in a situation where you've lived in a country or you've visited a country where it's like the only cuisine available, maybe you were in a village and it was like
Mm.
the local cuisine. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah, and particularly with ingredients. So for me personally, and I know this doesn't manifest for everyone, but having that Gemini in my sixth house, for me personally, if I eat too much of something or I use too much of something, I build some sort of intolerance. Like it really might start to affect me, and I have had
like yeah, like with, with
intolerances.
with me with the gluten, I ate so
Yeah.
much of it that my body started. reacting to it, and I had to cut down a lot.
I have the same reaction to shampoo. I change my shampoo every 3 to 6 months because my hair starts to feel like it's not working as well. It's super weird. But yeah, I think that's definitely connected to the sixth house. And like you said, there are going to be placements that, thrive in that sort of environment. Planets that can, like for example, Saturn in your sixth house is going to call you to find some discipline. Venus is going to really beautify that area of your life, right? So it's going to be a lot more streamlined, easier. Mars, inflammation. Be careful of that fiery energy and also your emotions causing health concerns.
Yeah, stress, too much
Yeah.
stress, overworking even. I've
hmm
Mars
Same with
six.
Virgo. Virgo in the sixth house. Your anxiety will be your downfall. You got to get a hold of your anxiety because it's very much connected to your digestive system, stomach. I know a lot of Virgo placements who have issues with their stomach, and it is very much emotional or connected
Yeah, I
deeply
have
to
Chiron in
anxiety.
Virgo. I have Chiron in Virgo, and I've suffered from stomach issues. I've suffered with these stomach issues for a long time.
I do like Chiron for you though, not initially, but hopefully that means at some point when you really have mastered your own body and your health, you're going to be able to help other people through that and you're going to have excellent health as you get older, which I think I like that for you. I hope that that manifests that way. Yeah. Ooh, one thing that's not often spoken about in the sixth house is pets.
Yes, the pets.
Like pets, family pets, or just like your own pets, your dogs, your cats. They're in the sixth house as well. Sometimes I know people who have sixth house transits or strong sixth house placements or angles, and then they have a very strong influence by a pet. Maybe they adopt a dog and it becomes their life, or just have a very important impact on them.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree. I've seen that too. Um, if they have Mars in the sixth house, this could be a person who's like really protective over their pet.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely
Some
connected.
people are like that with their kids, with their pets. It's like chill out. Like maybe like I don't get it, but I'm just like there's something in their chart is gonna explain it, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it is connected to their pets, most likely there's something going on with the sixth house. Yeah. So that basically concludes part one of our houses episode, houses 1 through 6. You can tune in next time for houses 7 to 12. But I guess we can conclude today talking a little bit about what people can expect in terms of transits for the month of February.
Yeah, the astrology of this month is quite crazy.
Intense. Intense.
It's
Yes.
crazy, especially for Scorpio people, Leos, the fixed signs, I would say, are gonna feel it the most. Fixed signs and those who have fixed placements as well, especially in the big three, are definitely gonna feel it. So we have Saturn, right, is moving into Aries on February 13th.
Mhm.
Um, so do you want to start by sharing anything about that?
Well, initially, I think the most important thing is to check out your chart. If you have Saturn in Aries, you're about to embark on your Saturn return, which I believe we have spoken about in previous episodes. But I think the biggest takeaway is that look at where Saturn is in your chart. You're most likely to experience a lot of changing
And
or
less.
lessons, necessity to create foundations in that area, and to become a little bit more responsible in that area of your life. But I think overall, Aries returning, Saturn return in Aries is going to be quite intense in terms of wanting to go, wanting to do something, and just not being able to do it. I feel like a lot of boundaries, a lot of repression. Be careful of the frustration, roll with the punches, and learn to rest, I think, with Saturn in Aries as a collective. I think a big lesson here is to gain mastery on our emotions, on our impulses, and most importantly, learning how to rest our bodies and to lower inflammation, which
Yeah,
I
so
guess would also be associated to stress. Sorry, Izzy, go ahead.
no, no worries. So yeah, those who have Saturn in Pisces are finally ending their Saturn return. Um and so that's really good news for them. The 1995 generation more or less will be ending their Saturn return. But with Saturn in Aries, I think, yeah, a lot of struggles around patience, um, also balancing courage and responsibility, and as well as like intentionality versus impulsiveness, because like the energy of Saturn and the energy of Aries are so different. And there's definitely a clash. So these could be themes that could definitely come up during this time. Um, in addition to this, Neptune just entered Aries on the 26th of January, and it's very fitting that the Epstein files, just saying,
Good point.
released right around that time because it's all about
And
Neptune.
most of it is like blocked out. It's very Neptunian. Sorry, just had to add to that.
Um, but it's like we've been living in this collective kind of illusion and confusion and lack of clarity. And now, because of Neptune being in Pisces, it's like heightening that Neptunian energy. But now that it's in Aries, it's kind of like the truth is the illusions are coming down and the mask is coming off on a societal level.
But
People
in a
are,
Neptunian way, wouldn't you say? It's like not quite like boom,
yeah,
revealing of truth.
how would you explain that though to our,
Well, actually, I love
but
your
it's subtle, but
example.
it's there.
I think we have a little delay. If it does sound like we're overlapping or interrupting each other, that's why. Go ahead, Izzy. Finish your thoughts.
No. What were you saying? Because it kind of got stunted or something. Something happened.
Yes.
Audio.
No, I was just saying that I would explain it exactly with your example of the Epstein files, because a lot of the names are blocked out. It's very Neptunian. It's like small bites of truth, and we have to piece it all together, which a lot of people are doing. They're piecing the information together and trying to create meaning from something that's partially blocked or covered, right? That's
But
not to
with
say we're not going to get to the truth, but it is saying that it's going to be in this convoluted Neptunian way.
yeah, but with Neptune and Pisces, though, I guess my point is that it heightened the
Absolutely.
illusion. It heightened the hiddenness. With Aries, it's like it's a cardinal sign, it's a fire sign, it's a different energy from Pisces. So the truth, the illusions are starting to fall compared to before. We're kind of entering a new era of the illusions starting to fall.
Hmm.
For sure, as well as the fact that North Node has been in Pisces, but it's going to go into Aquarius soon, and I think Aquarius is more straightforward. Aquarius is more of a truth seeker than I think Pisces is.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Aquarius is very much that, which you said was the mask is falling. With
so the fact
Aries,
that the North Node is going to be in Aquarius by the mid end of summer, that's going to be that's going to speed up this process. Um, Also, the last time Neptune was in Aries, there were so many global conflicts, like the American Civil War. The U.S.
mm,
Civil War was during this time. Just saying.
yeah.
Um, I think the French Revolution. Um, so we could expect a lot of craziness.
Yeah,
But
Mars is associated with fire, explosion, war, combat, attack, defense, even. We could see those themes coming up with Saturn in Aries, and then, as you said, Neptune conjoining or conjuncting. I forgot what I started with. So Saturn conjunct Neptune on February 20th is going to be quite an interesting one. What do you make of that?
I think it's gonna be a lot of like it's giving the energy of like hard realizations. and maybe
Mm,
having to make important decisions. Um,
mm,
and yeah, just kind of like, because Saturn is serious, right? Saturn
mm-hmm,
is Saturnian energy is serious. It's no BS. And then Neptune is kind of the opposite of that. And
mm.
so I feel like there's gonna be this energetic clash, for sure during that time. Um, but it's also a good part of it is that, it's the merging of practicality and imagination. So people could get a lot of intuitive downloads, a lot of creative inspiration, and kind of direct that creativity into something tangible.
Yeah,
Um, uh,
absolutely. It
and
can represent the end of a difficult cycle.
I also was reading on some astrology page. I wish I saved the link because it was so interesting. It was talking about Neptune and Saturn aspects in history. And uh a lot of this also has to do or ties in with big technological shifts and advancements. So we could expect maybe the launch of something new with AI or some new software or something. Even it could be in surveillance,
Hmm.
that comes out during this time. Um,
That's interesting.
Technologically speaking, I gotta find the link. It was so, so, so interesting.
Yeah.
Talking about how different Saturn Neptune aspects, specifically the conjunction, but also the other ones like have um have signaled big turning points in technology.
Hmm. I'm thinking about AI with regards to this because, Uranus in Gemini is also
Oh
kind
yeah.
of pointing to that, very like AI coded. And I think, I don't know if you've heard about this, but recently there was a social media created. I don't know if it was created by AI or by a person, but it gives AI the ability to communicate with each other. And AI has been complaining about humans to each other on this social media. And I even read something about an AI wanting to protest against the bad treatment of AI, essentially. And there's just a lot of interesting dynamics, with Neptune, human consciousness. And then
This
you've got those like
reminds me
Uranus AI themes. There could be an overlap there.
this reminds me of that movie. It's called AI. It was made in 2001. It's a Spielberg film.
Yeah, with the
The
little
little
boy
boy,
with the blue
and like
eyes.
they kind of treat the robots and the robotic people like badly, and they bully them, but then like kind of the joke's on the humans because in the end they kind of go extinct, and it's really like dystopian and it's really predictive. I love that movie though. It
It is a
makes me
good
cry.
movie.
It makes me cry every time. It's such a good movie. I really recommend that people watch it now more than ever, given the
It's
world.
funny how, yeah, it's funny how it's relevant now, for sure. And I guess the final transit we could chat a little bit about is the eclipse that's taking place February 17th in Aquarius, which you already briefly mentioned with the North Node. It's further dropping that mask. So I would see some truths, realizations maybe coming up at that time.
Yeah, look at where Aquarius and Leo fall in your chart. What houses, sorry, are ruled by what house is ruled by Aquarius and what house is ruled by Leo. Um, where the north node where the north node is gonna signal what we're kind of developing towards and working towards, and where the south node is like basically Leo in this case is gonna be kind of like the um patterns and tendencies that we're trying to do away with. So yeah, with
Absolutely.
a lot of consciousness, a lot of greater awareness, as well as the theme of individualism and collectivism, because those are a big part of the Aquarius Leo nodal axis. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't even have anything to add. That was beautifully said. And just like truth would be a big theme, you know, kind of reverberating through everything that we just spoke about is this unmasking of truth. and I'm curious. I'm curious as from an astrological point of view to see how it unfolds from a personal stance as well. It does feel a little bit icky, for lack of a better word, but we'll get through it. And I'm curious to see what's on the other side. So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot going on in February. And one
Hmm.
last thing is that right now we've currently got like Pluto, Mars, Sun, Venus, and Mercury in
Oh, that's
Aquarius.
right.
So if you are an Aquarius person, if you've got rising Sun, Moon, or rising in Aquarius, if you've got major personal planets in Aquarius, you're definitely feeling it. If you are a Scorpio person or someone with major Scorpio placements, you're feeling it because that's making a square. If you're a Leo person, that's made those planets are making an opposition to you. And it's also making a square to Taurus. So fixed sign people are feeling a lot of shifts and a lot of intensity this month. So it's not you, it's the stars. It really
Yeah.
sorry
Yeah.
for that. For all my mutable people and cardinal people, it's a bit better, but for fixed sign people like me, yeah, good luck to us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good time for compassion and just like focus on that growth and expansion. Because there's a
Too
lot of that going
hasty.
on.
Don't take rash decision. Don't make rash decisions. Just feel things out, internalize them, um,
Process them.
process them.
Mm.
Yeah, because Aquarius likes to intellectualize. It 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 likes to surprise people, but it also is a thinker, right? So think before you act.
Yes. And we'll, I guess, finish with that today. So, as I mentioned previously, please do stay tuned because next week we'll be releasing part two of this episode, and we'll get a little bit further into those later houses in our chart. Until then, thank you for joining us. Please do feel free to reach out, email, comment below if there's any questions or topics you'd like us to cover. And yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you the next time.
thank you for listening to Moon Me, an astrology podcast. We hope our insights inspire you to explore your own path. Join us next week as we dive deeper into the cosmos with Roxy and Izzy.